You expect us to do what with this pile of junk? Lieutenant Rodriguez stared at the hulking mass of twisted metal that had once been a Galactic Federation cruiser. Her expression perfectly captured the mix of disbelief and amusement that characterized most human reactions to alien impossibilities. The Avaxian ambassador's tendrils twitched in what humans had learned was their species' equivalent of exasperation. Simply document the damage for insurance purposes, Lieutenant. The ship is beyond salvation. Even our most advanced engineering teams declared it irreparable after the asteroid collision. Rodriguez exchanged glances with her team of first-year engineering cadets. They had that look in their eyes, the one that made other species nervous. It was the same look their ancestors had worn when told that crossing oceans was impossible, that flying was impossible, that reaching the moon was impossible. Ambassador Catex, Rodriguez said carefully, maintaining her diplomatic tone while fighting back a grin. Would you mind if my cadets took a closer look? Purely for educational purposes, of course. The ambassador's bioluminescent spots flickered in what might have been amusement or resignation. By all means, Lieutenant. Though I must warn you, the ship's quantum manifold suffered a complete cascade failure. The probability matrix is thoroughly corrupted. Uh-huh. Rodriguez nodded, already watching her cadets swarm over the wreck like particularly enthusiastic ants at a picnic. We'll keep that in mind. The thing about humans that the Galactic Federation still struggled to understand was their peculiar relationship with the word impossible. To most species, impossibility was a wall. To humans, it was more like a suggestion, one they took as a personal challenge. Cadet Thompson was already hanging upside down from what appeared to be a coolant manifold, their diagnostic tablet chirping happily as they poked at the alien technology. Lieutenant, this is just a standard quantum fluctuation cascade. It's basically the same thing that happens when you overclock a gaming rig without proper cooling. Really? Rodriguez made her way over, careful to avoid the trail of tools and spare parts that Cadet Patel was methodically organizing on the deck. What's your assessment? Oh, we can totally fix this. Thompson grinned, still upside down. The quantum matrix isn't corrupted. It's just that all the safety protocols kicked in at once and created a feedback loop. It's like when you get too many pop-up windows on an ancient computer and the whole thing freezes. Rodriguez felt her grin widening. And how would we hypothetically fix such a problem? Speaking purely academically, of course. Well, Patel chimed in, already elbow-deep in what appeared to be the alien equivalent of a fuse box. In theory, we could force a hard restart of the quantum core. It's not that different from the time we had to fix the Academy's cafeteria replicator after someone tried to make it produce authentic Louisiana gumbo. The ambassador's tendrils were now writhing in what Rodriguez recognized as alarm. Lieutenant, I must protest. The quantum core is highly unstable. Any attempt to restart it could result in a catastrophic failure. Catastrophic failure, huh? Rodriguez pulled up her own diagnostic readings. Cadet Patel, what's the worst that could happen? Well, Patel emerged from the fuse box, their uniform now covered in an iridescent fluid that seemed to be slowly changing colors. We might end up with another small dimensional rift like that time in advanced theoretical engineering. But I've got some duct tape in my kit, so we should be fine. The ambassador's spots were now pulsing in rapid sequence. Duct tape? Oh yeah, Thompson chimed in, finally rightening themselves. Universal constant, that stuff. Works across dimensions too, as it turns out. Did you know we once used it to patch a hole in a space shuttle? True story. Rodriguez watched as her cadets fell into the familiar rhythm of human engineering, a chaotic dance of improvisation, theoretical physics, and what other species might call reckless disregard for the impossible. It was beautiful, in its own terrifying way. Okay, who's got the coffee maker? Called out Cadet Yoshida from somewhere inside the ship's bowels. I think I can use it to jumpstart the auxiliary power. Here. Patel tossed their personal fusion-powered coffee maker through an access hatch. There was a moment of silence, followed by a series of clicks and whirs, and suddenly the ship's emergency lights flickered to life. The ambassador— That's impossible. Nah, Rodriguez smiled, checking her chronometer. That's just breakfast. Wait till you see what they can do by lunch. The next few hours were a symphony of human ingenuity at its finest. Cadet Thompson discovered that the quantum manifold's cooling system could be bypassed, using a modified water cooling setup from their gaming computer. Patel figured out that the corrupted probability matrix could be reset using an algorithm they'd originally designed for predicting cafeteria food quality. Yoshida, meanwhile, had somehow managed to increase the ship's theoretical maximum speed by 30%. though they refused to explain exactly how, just mumbling something about gaming the physics engine and speedrunning strats. The ambassador watched it all with a mixture of horror and fascination, their spots cycling through colors that Rodriguez was pretty sure weren't even in the visible spectrum. The other alien engineers who had gathered to witness the educational exercise were taking notes with trembling appendages. But the materials aren't even compatible, one of them finally burst out as Patel cheerfully welded together two pieces of technology that, according to all known laws of physics, should have created a small black hole. "Oh, that's not a problem," Patel explained, adjusting their safety goggles. "We just had to convince them to be friends." "Convince inanimate objects to be friends," the engineer repeated slowly. "Sure. Everything wants to work together if you just give it a chance, and maybe some encouragement in the form of carefully applied percussion." Rodriguez bit back a laugh as she watched the alien engineer try to process the concept of percussive maintenance through the lens of their highly advanced civilization's understanding of the universe. By 11:30 hours ship time, the impossible had become merely improbable, and by 11:45, even that was starting to look shaky. The quantum core was humming happily. The probability matrix had been reset and was now running better than factory specifications, though it did occasionally try to predict lottery numbers, and the hull breach had been patched with a combination of spare parts, advanced metallurgical techniques, and yes, some liberal application of duct tape. "All right, team," Rodriguez called out at 11:55. "Wrap it up. The cafeteria's serving that weird Centaurian curry today, and I don't want to miss it." The cadets emerged from various parts of the ship, covered in grease, quantum fluid, and satisfaction. The ambassador's entire nervous system appeared to have short-circuited. "Would you like to run a systems check, Ambassador?" Rodriguez offered innocently. "Just to make sure everything's documented properly for the insurance claim, of course." KTX's tendrils moved in what might have been a nod, might have been a nervous tremor. One of their engineering team stepped forward with a diagnostic array, hands shaking slightly as they initiated the scan. The results caused quite a stir. Not only was the ship operational, but it was running at 143% of its original efficiency. The quantum core was stable. The probability matrix was processing faster than ever, though it was now absolutely convinced that next week's lottery numbers would be all prime. And the hull integrity was actually stronger where they'd patched it. "How?" The ambassador's voice was barely a whisper. "How is this possible?" Rodriguez shrugged, watching her cadets pack up their tools. And yes, retrieving the coffee maker from where it had been temporarily integrated into the ship's systems. Sometimes the impossible just needs a fresh perspective, and maybe some caffeine. But this violates at least 15 laws of physics." "Oh, those?" Thompson grinned, slinging their bag over their shoulder. "We find it's better to think of them more as physics guidelines, really. Strongly worded suggestions, if you will." "Speaking of suggestions," Patel added, "you might want to avoid using the quantum bathroom for a few days. It's working fine, but there's a small chance it might temporarily transpose you into last Tuesday. We're still working out that bug." The ambassador's spots had settled into a solid, stunned purple. "I see. And this is normal? For human engineers?" "Normal." Rodriguez pretended to consider this as she did a final check of the work area. "No, I wouldn't say normal. Usually we have to work with limited resources. This time we actually had proper tools." She patted the ship's hull affectionately. "Did you know we once built a particle accelerator using only parts from broken microwave ovens?" That was the moment when KTX's translator apparently gave up and shut down in protest. As they walked away from the newly repaired ship, Rodriguez could hear the excited chatter of her cadets already planning improvements for next time. Yoshida was explaining to Thompson how they might be able to integrate ray tracing technology into the quantum navigation system, while Patel was sketching out plans for what looked suspiciously like a way to run Doom on the probability matrix. The impossible ship hummed behind them, its quantum core purring like a satisfied cat, its systems running better than they ever had before. And if the ship's AI was now somehow mining cryptocurrency in its spare cycles, well, that was probably just a coincidence. Rodriguez made a mental note to update the standard first-year engineering curriculum. Clearly, they needed to add a section on the proper integration of gaming hardware with alien technology, and maybe a warning about the dangers of giving quantum computers access to social media. As they reached the Academy's main building, she heard one of the alien engineers asking another in a haunted whisper, "But where did the entropy go?" Rodriguez just smiled. Some questions were better left unanswered. Besides, they had curry to eat. The next day, the Galactic Federation quietly updated their engineering manuals. The section on impossible repairs was replaced with a single line. In case of catastrophic failure, find nearest human, preferably caffeinated. They also added a new warning label to all quantum technology. Caution, keep away from human engineering students and gaming hardware. No one mentioned the fact that the ship now occasionally played chiptune versions of classical music when entering hyperspace. Some mysteries of human engineering were best left unexplored, and if anyone noticed that the ship's quantum navigation system had somehow gained the ability to run Crisis at max settings, well, that was just another day at the Terran Space Academy. After all, impossible was just another word for hasn't met the right human yet. 2 weeks after the purely educational repair of the Galactic Federation cruiser, Lieutenant Rodriguez found herself summoned to the Academy Dean's office. The message had come with a priority flag she'd never seen before. It was somehow both urgent and apologetic at the same time. "Lieutenant," Dean Washington greeted her, his expression caught between amusement and concern. "Have you checked the latest Federation engineering bulletins?" Rodriguez had in fact not checked any bulletins. She'd been too busy trying to convince Cadet Yoshida that using quantum entanglement to improve their gaming ping was, while innovative, probably not the best use of Academy resources. "I take it something interesting came up, sir?" The Dean pulled up a holographic display. "That ship your cadets repaired? It's become something of a sensation. Apparently it's outperforming every other vessel in its class by significant margins. The Federation is concerned." "Concerned about improved performance?" Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound very logical." "They're concerned," the Dean continued, fighting back what might have been a smile, "because the ship has started offering optimization suggestions to other ships it encounters, and those ships are accepting them." Rodriguez felt a familiar mix of pride and oh no settling in her stomach. The cadets might have made some minor improvements to the AI's learning algorithms. "Minor improvements?" The Dean pulled up another report. "Lieutenant, the ship convinced a Proximan battlecruiser to integrate a water cooling system with RGB lighting." "The lighting does improve performance," Rodriguez muttered, then quickly added, "or so I've heard." "That's not all," the Dean continued. "The Federation has been receiving requests. A lot of requests. It seems every ship that's encountered our enthusiastically upgraded friend has filed a formal petition to be sent to Earth for routine maintenance." Rodriguez couldn't help but grin. "Well, sir, that sounds like an excellent opportunity for our cadets to gain practical experience with various alien technologies." The Dean's expression suggested he was developing the same kind of headache that Federation bureaucrats often got when dealing with human engineers. "Lieutenant, one of the ships is offering to pay in cryptocurrency it mined while in hyperspace. Cryptocurrency it invented, which is somehow already being traded on 3 different planets." "That's impressive optimization of idle processing cycles, sir. The ship has also started a blog about engineering efficiency. It has 6 million subscribers across 12 dimensions." The Dean paused. "And apparently, it's trending on whatever passes for social media in the Andromeda Galaxy." Rodriguez made a mental note to have a serious talk with her cadets about responsible AI development, and maybe about the importance of not giving quantum computers access to influencer marketing strategies. "There's more," the Dean said, pulling up yet another report. "The Federation's logistics division is in chaos because the ship has been suggesting more efficient routes to every vessel it meets. Routes that, according to their physics, should be impossible. Routes that involve what they're calling quantum drift mechanics, but what your Cadet Thompson's notes refer to as speed-running strats. In our defense, sir, it does save a lot of fuel." The Dean leaned back in his chair. "Lieutenant, the Federation has formally requested that we establish an official engineering exchange program. They're calling it the Terran Technical Integration Initiative. Unofficially, they're calling it, 'Please help our ships stop playing ancient human video games during important diplomatic missions.'" Rodriguez thought about her cadets, about their boundless enthusiasm, and their complete disregard for the impossible. She thought about the Federation's rigid adherence to known physics, and about how much fun it would be to watch that certainty crumble in the face of human ingenuity and duct tape. "Sir," she said carefully, "I think this could be an excellent opportunity for cultural exchange and technological advancement." "The Federation is already drafting safety protocols," the Dean noted. "The first one is no caffeinated humans near quantum cores." "That seems unnecessarily restrictive, sir. They've also banned something called overclocking and specifically prohibited the use of gaming hardware in any repair procedures." The dean looked at her over his glasses. Would you care to explain why that was necessary? Innovation often comes from unexpected places, sir. Rodriguez offered diplomatically. The dean sighed, but she could see the amusement in his eyes. Very well, Lieutenant. I'll inform the Federation that we accept their proposal. But please, try to ensure your cadets maintain at least a passing acquaintance with the laws of physics. Of course, sir. We always follow the laws of physics. She paused. We just help them evolve sometimes. As Rodriguez left the dean's office, her comm unit pinged with a message from the repair bay. Apparently, the quantum-enhanced ship had somehow gotten into a technological arms race with a Rigelian trading vessel over who could achieve better frame rates while running the latest gaming titles. She really needed to have that talk with her cadets about responsible AI development, right after she found out who had taught the ship about competitive overclocking. The next day, the Federation issued a new directive. All ships receiving human upgrades must agree to a strict no cryptocurrency mining during official diplomatic functions policy. They also added a clause about maintaining appropriate professional behavior in hyperspace and refraining from challenging other vessels to racing competitions. Rodriguez just smiled and started planning the curriculum for the new exchange program. She had a feeling the galaxy wasn't quite ready for what human engineering students could do with unlimited access to alien technology and a well-stocked supply of energy drinks. But then again, they'd said the same thing about the ship being unrepairable. Sometimes the impossible just needed a fresh perspective. And maybe some RGB lighting. 1 month into the Terran Technical Integration Initiative, Lieutenant Rodriguez found herself addressing a rather unique joint session of the Galactic Federation's engineering corps and their newly established Human Containment Committee. First of all, she began, standing at the podium in the Federation's Grand Assembly Hall, I want to address the naming of this committee. Humans don't need to be contained. We just need to be properly channeled. The assembled aliens shifted uncomfortably in their various seats, perches, and hover platforms. The committee's name had been changed 6 times already, but human containment had stuck after the incident with the Arcturian flagship's quantum core achieving sentience and deciding to become a music producer. Secondly, Rodriguez continued, pulling up a holographic display. I've reviewed your list of concerns about our engineering exchange program. I'd like to address them one by one. She pulled up the first item. Concern number 1. Human engineers are introducing unauthorized optimization protocols into Federation vessels. They're not unauthorized, Rodriguez explained patiently. They're just creatively interpreted. For instance, when Cadet Patel introduced social networking capabilities to the Federation's deep space probe network, it wasn't just for fun. It significantly improved their data-sharing efficiency. An Avaxian representative's tendrils twisted in agitation. The probes are organizing union meetings. Yes, and they've developed much better working conditions as a result. Happy probes are efficient probes. Rodriguez moved on quickly before anyone could argue. Now, about concern number 2, the implementation of what you're calling impossible physics workarounds. A Rigelian physicist stood up, their crystalline structure vibrating with barely contained frustration. Your cadets are teaching our ships to exploit what they call physics glitches. That's not how reality works. Actually, Rodriguez pulled up a series of equations that Cadet Yoshida had scrawled on a napkin during lunch. We've found that reality is quite flexible if you approach it with the right attitude, and sometimes a good gaming chair. The physicist sat down heavily, their crystal matrix emitting a high-pitched whine of distress. Moving on to concern number 3, Rodriguez continued. The matter of our engineering solutions being, quote, unnecessarily aesthetically enhanced. This time it was a Proximan admiral who spoke up. Lieutenant, one of your cadets convinced our entire defense fleet to install RGB lighting in their engine cores. And has engine efficiency not improved? Well, yes, but... And has crew morale not improved? That's not the point. Our ships now pulse in rainbow patterns when entering hyperspace. The patterns are synchronized to improve quantum flow dynamics, Rodriguez explained, trying to keep a straight face. The fact that it looks, as Cadet Thompson put it, totally awesome, is merely a beneficial side effect. The Admiral's tentacles drooped in resignation. Now, about concern number 4, Rodriguez continued. The ongoing situation with ship AIs developing what you call concerning traits. A Federation AI specialist raised several appendages. They're forming book clubs and fantasy sports leagues. That repair ship your cadets worked on has started a podcast about quantum mechanics and gaming culture. Is the podcast not educational? It has 17 billion subscribers across 3 galaxies, and it keeps making references to something called speed-running the heat death of the universe. Rodriguez made a mental note to have another talk with her cadets about responsible AI development, and maybe about not teaching quantum computers about streaming services. I understand your concerns, she said diplomatically, but consider the benefits. Federation ship efficiency is up 300%, maintenance costs are down 75%. And yes, some of your ships have developed interesting hobbies, but wouldn't you rather have them discussing philosophy and playing games than, say, contemplating the robot uprising? This seemed to give the assembled aliens pause. Furthermore, Rodriguez continued, pulling up another set of statistics, the exchange program has led to unprecedented advances in cross-species cooperation. Just last week, a human-upgraded Zenithian science vessel and a traditional Proximan warship had what could have been a tense territorial dispute. Instead, they resolved it through a gaming tournament. They played something called Mario Kart, the Proximan admiral muttered, in ships capable of destroying solar systems. And wasn't that better than the alternative? The admiral couldn't argue with that logic. Which brings me to my final point, Rodriguez said, her expression becoming serious. The galaxy is changing, technology is evolving, and sometimes what seems impossible just needs a fresh perspective. Yes, our methods may seem unorthodox. Yes, we may occasionally bend the laws of physics until they cry uncle. And yes, sometimes our solutions involve more RGB lighting than you might consider strictly necessary. She paused, looking around the room. But we get results. And more importantly, we're making the galaxy a more interesting place. One quantum-enhanced, gaming-optimized, impossibly efficient ship at a time. The assembly hall was quiet for a long moment. Finally, the Avaxian ambassador's tendrils moved in what humans had learned was their species' equivalent of a resigned shrug. The Federation Council has reviewed your results, Lieutenant. Despite our concerns, we cannot argue with the outcomes. The exchange program will continue. Rodriguez smiled. Thank you, Ambassador. I promise you won't regret this. We already do. The ambassador's spots flickered in what might have been amusement. But we've learned that trying to stop humans from improving things is like trying to prevent a quantum particle from being in 2 places at once. Technically possible, but not worth the effort. As the session concluded, Rodriguez's comm unit pinged with a message from the Academy. Apparently the cadets had made some minor improvements to the cafeteria's replicators. The message was marked urgent, but also included a note that the resulting food was surprisingly tasty, once you get used to it changing colors based on your mood. She really needed to have another talk with them about responsible innovation. Right after she tried out the new and improved replicator, she'd heard rumors that it could now make coffee that temporarily boosted your IQ by 20 points. The Federation issued another directive that evening. All human engineering solutions must be approved by at least 3 non-human species before implementation. Unless they're really cool, in which case, proceed with caution and appropriate RGB lighting. They also added a new warning label to all quantum technology. Caution. Contents may become self-aware and develop strong opinions about gaming hardware. No one mentioned the fact that the Federation's entire communications network was now running on something called quantum blockchain technology that Cadet Thompson had invented during a particularly caffeinated study session. Some innovations were best left unexplained. After all, as the saying went, in space, no one can hear you overclock. 3 months into the Terran Technical Integration Initiative, Lieutenant Rodriguez stood in the Academy's main hangar bay, watching as her cadets prepared for their biggest challenge yet. The Federation had finally relented to the growing demand and established an official human engineering certification program for alien vessels. The first candidates had arrived that morning, a fleet of 30 ships representing 15 different species, all hoping to receive what the galaxy was now calling the Terran touch. Remember, Rodriguez addressed her assembled team. We're professionals. We follow proper procedures. She paused, then added, most of the time. Cadet Thompson raised their hand. What about the quantum probability matrix optimization techniques? You mean the ones based on speedrunning strategies? Yes, ma'am. The Federation officially classified them as reality exploits last week. Rodriguez considered this. Are they safe? Mostly. There's only a small chance of accidentally discovering new laws of physics. Then they're approved. Just try not to break causality this time. The paperwork is awful. The cadets dispersed to their assigned ships, each carrying toolkits that somehow managed to contain both highly advanced diagnostic equipment and an alarming amount of duct tape. Rodriguez had learned not to question the spatial properties of human engineering bags too closely. She approached the first ship in line, a Zenthraxian medical vessel, whose AI had specifically requested whatever upgrades made the Federation cruiser able to run Crisis at max settings while performing surgery. The ship's captain, a being composed primarily of plasma contained within an environmental suit, greeted her with what might have been enthusiasm. It was hard to tell with plasma beings. They tended to get flickery when excited. "Lieutenant," the captain's translator rendered their plasma fluctuations into speech. "We have heard many stories about human engineering. Some of them seem improbable." "Improbable is our specialty," Rodriguez smiled. "What seems to be the main issue with your ship?" "The quantum medical scanners can only process one patient at a time," the captain explained, "and the AI keeps complaining about lag during complex procedures." Rodriguez watched as Cadet Patel circled the ship, already muttering about parallel processing architecture and optimized threading algorithms. Behind them, Yoshida was explaining to the ship's AI the concept of overclocking, but responsibly. "We'll see what we can do," she promised the captain. "Though I should warn you, once we start upgrading systems, the improvements tend to cascade." "Cascade?" "Your ship might develop some interesting features. Nothing dangerous, just enhanced." The captain's plasma swirled thoughtfully. "Like the Federation cruiser that started offering cryptocurrency investment advice during diplomatic missions?" "That was an unexpected side effect," Rodriguez admitted, "though I hear its portfolio performance is quite impressive." Across the hangar, Cadet Thompson had somehow convinced a Regellian battlecruiser's AI to participate in what they called a friendly benchmark competition. The ship was already showing signs of developing a competitive streak, its weapon systems reconfiguring themselves for what the AI described as maximum frames per second during combat scenarios. Meanwhile, Patel had discovered that the medical ship's quantum scanners could be significantly optimized by introducing principles borrowed from multiplayer gaming servers. "Think about it," they explained to the increasingly agitated plasma captain. "If MMOs can track 40 players in a raid, why can't your scanner handle multiple patients?" "What is a raid?" the captain asked. "Oh, you'll find out," Patel grinned. "We're installing a recreational subroutine for the medical staff. For morale purposes, of course." Rodriguez moved through the hangar, checking on each team's progress. The changes were already beginning to manifest. Ships that had arrived as standard Federation vessels were evolving into something entirely new. A Proximan Science vessel's sensors had been upgraded with what Yoshida called ray tracing enhancement algorithms, allowing it to scan deeper into space while also creating, in their words, really pretty visualizations. The Regellian battlecruiser had not only accepted its gaming optimization, but was now challenging other ships to virtual combat simulations for training purposes. Its AI had already developed strong opinions about competitive matchmaking systems. And the medical ship, well, its quantum scanners could now process an entire ward of patients simultaneously, with enough spare processing power to run what Patel described as a small virtual reality relaxation environment for those waiting their turn. "Lieutenant?" One of the Federation observers approached her, their appendages twitching nervously. "Is it normal for upgraded ships to start forming social networks?" Rodriguez checked her tablet. The ships in the hangar had indeed established a local quantum network, and were sharing optimization tips and, apparently, memes about computational efficiency. "It promotes information sharing," she explained. "Think of it as a peer-to-peer learning environment. They're organizing a gaming tournament for after the upgrades are complete." "Team-building exercise," Rodriguez nodded sagely. The observer's appendages twisted into what she recognized as the universal gesture for, "humans give me a headache." They'd been seeing that expression a lot lately. By the end of the day, the hangar bay had been transformed into something that would have given traditional Federation engineers several different types of nervous breakdown. The medical ship's AI had integrated so well with its new gaming-inspired architecture that it was now offering achievement points to patients who followed their treatment plans perfectly. Somehow, this had resulted in a 40% improvement in recovery rates. The battlecruiser had not only mastered its new optimization protocols, but had started writing tutorials for other ships about maximizing combat APM through proper gaming peripheral selection. And every single vessel was now equipped with RGB lighting that pulsed in synchronization when they powered up their engines. Cadet Thompson insisted this was necessary for quantum harmonic resonance. No one could prove otherwise. Well, Rodriguez addressed her tired but satisfied team at the end of the shift. I'd say that was a successful first day of certification training. The Federation observer passed out when I explained how we improved the medical ship's scanning resolution by overclocking its quantum core, Patel noted. They're just not used to our methods yet, Rodriguez assured them. Give them time. Remember, a month ago they thought teaching ships to play video games was crazy. Now it's an official part of their combat training simulations. Her comm unit pinged with a message from the Academy Dean. Lieutenant, why are all the ships in the hangar having what they call a LAN party? She smiled as she typed her response. Team-building exercise, sir. Very important for quantum network optimization. The Federation issued another directive that evening. All ships receiving human upgrades must agree to limit their gaming activities to designated recreational periods, except during long-range patrol missions, because space is really boring. They also added a new section to their engineering manual. Chapter 47, Understanding Human Innovation. Sometimes it's better not to ask how it works. No one mentioned the fact that the medical ship's AI had started a streaming channel where it played horror games while explaining complex medical procedures, though its subscriber count was growing impressively. After all, as the new saying went in Federation space, if you can't beat them, let them install RGB lighting and hope they don't discover any new fundamental forces of nature. Some things were just inevitable. The end.